Welcome to The Real in Real Estate, your gateway to the source. I'm so glad you're here. We're all about diving into the nitty-gritty of real estate, sharing insights, tips, and some awesome interviews straight from the industry's beating heart. From the latest trends to cool investment strategies, we've got you covered. Let's explore and uncover all the essential tools and knowledge you need for navigating the ever-evolving world of property and housing. Here we go. Welcome back to the podcast for The Real in Real Estate, where we interview the experts in the field and talk about the facts of real estate. So I'm here with Jennifer Larsen today. I met Jennifer 16 years ago. I don't know if she remembers, but I do. And so I invited her on the podcast, and I wanted to just give you a little information about Jennifer to start. She's a Houston native with 17 years experience in real estate with a degree in psychology. She specializes in sellers listings, first-time homebuyers, and investment properties. She's a proud member of the Compass Military Division as well and is certified in luxury home sales. Her expertise and dedication make her a trusted professional in the Houston real estate world. So welcome, Jennifer. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Great. Well, today we're going to talk about getting your home ready for sale. Jennifer and I both have experience in this, but she's been at the business a little longer than I am, so I wanted to talk to the expert. So when you get a client call you and say they want to list their home to sell, tell us your process. What do you do to help them get ready?
Okay, so when someone needs to sell their home, I first go in their home and let them walk around, let them show me everything, let them get excited about the whole process. I think that's the most important thing to begin with. Then after, they've walked me around and showed me everything, I think it's extremely important to get the home depersonalized. I know it's such a pain to get it depersonalized, but there is a psychological benefit of depersonalizing your home and making room for the new buyer. To visualize it as the home, as their own home. So those things are super important. And the way you depersonalize is remove personal photos, remove anything off the counters, remove stuff off the refrigerator, things along those lines. Also, it's really important for to clean the house, because when you clean the house, people think that it smells fresh and it's inviting for people to come in.
Jennifer, let me ask you a quick question. Do you want all of the personal photos removed or the majority of them? How do you feel about that?
So it depends. The thing is you don't want people to be looking at your personal photos. You want people to be looking at the house and trying to imagine themselves in the house. If there's like a big photo on the wall and it's hard to remove, I say, okay, leave it.
Yeah.
But especially the ones in frames and stuff on counters and end tables and things along those lines, those are the ones I would definitely remove. You want the counters and the different spaces to look, to be thinned out. It's also really important to thin out your closet too. You want the point of depersonalizing is to make the house feel, inviting and to you're going to have to box these things up anyways. So might as well get a jump start on it, and it psychologically helps the seller start moving.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly what I always tell my clients as well. You're going to box it up anyway. Let's get it started now.
Yeah.
Now, one more question. For staging purposes, do you want everything off the kitchen counter, or do you leave a few things, or what's your philosophy on that?
For the kitchen counters, you don't want to leave, like knives or the coffee maker or things like that. You can leave one or two decorative pieces to make it look nice, but you want people to be able to not only see the counters, but visualize what, how they're going to be living in that space.
Right.
And if there's too much on the counters, then they can't have that visualization. A lot of people walk into a home, go and tour it, and then they sit on the couch and just think. And if the counters are very open and bare, then they can start visualizing their personal items
Their
there,
coffee maker. Yeah.
their coffee maker, and then their toaster oven and things like that. And that's super important because you just never know where people want to put things, or and you don't want the space to look small. You want it to look wide open. When you go to sell your house, it's very different than living in your house, and people need to
Yes.
understand that. Also, what I was going to say is you want to make sure you remove any religious items too. Sometimes it offends people if you walk into a house and you have 12 crosses on the wall, or you have, a lot of, Jewish stars of David, or, things along those lines. It,
Right.
it offends people. So you just want to depersonalize and, have your house be neutral, because at the end of the day, this isn't going to be your house anymore. You can't think of yourself. You have to think of others. Also, you want to thin out closets, start boxing things up, remove all drugs and weapons from the home, is also another important thing. And then another really important thing is first impressions. And so with first impressions, you need to make sure your curb appeal looks good.
Yes.
You need to make sure that you have beautiful landscaping. If you need to add mulch, you need to put flowers. Flowers are, make the home bright and beautiful. And it's the first impression when people come to walk into the house. And
Should
then
be.
also smell is really important. You're using
Yeah.
all your five senses when you go and walk in homes. Do you remember yellow is McDonald's? Do you know why yellow is McDonald's? It's because
I
it
don't.
makes people happy. And so the color yellow brightens people's days. So they recommend putting yellow flowers or yellow lemons in the house. And that's the reason they picked the color yellow for McDonald's.
I did not know this. This is good to know. Let me back up a little bit. When you say remove drugs from the home, obviously people have prescriptions. You're just saying remove anything excess.
Any prescription drugs, you do not want to leave them in the
Okay.
home, or any type of weapons,
Right.
or jewelry, because you never know, it could get stolen. So it's just better off just to remove it or put them in a hiding place you don't think someone will be looking. Most buyers will look through drawers, cabinets, anything along those lines,
Mhm.
closets.
Yeah, and as far as closets, they can easily remove their, if it's summer, they can remove their winter clothes, and that frees up the closet, and vice versa as well. Another thing
Absolutely.
that I can't stand, and you tell me your opinion on, is open trash cans. If you've got to have a trash can in your bathroom or somewhere, or a laundry basket, put a lid on it. Do you agree?
100%. And I also like removing the rugs for, especially for photos, and the trash cans for photos. When I take photos, I like to remove those. And then when the photos are excuse me, when the photos are done, then put them back, because it also makes the room look bigger without a trash can, and
And they get to
and
see the lovely floors.
and they can see the lovely
Mhm.
floors. And then also in a shower, I like everything removed too. Or if you cannot remove it, put it in a little basket so it's not just all over the shower.
Oh, yes. I've seen some showers that had more stuff in it than my closet does. Yeah, absolutely. Organize it, make it pretty.
Mhm.
Okay, question. Is there some things that you see, common things you see when you're walking through a home with clients? I assume a common theme that you see through most houses when you first meet with a client is decluttering. I think that's pretty common.
Yes, so decluttering is definitely important, but also I like to recommend to my clients taking a magic eraser and erasing little, nicks and cracks,
Ah,
like if there's like ink on the wall, or
yes.
smudges.
Crayon.
You want to make the house look as beautiful as you can. And also, I tell my clients, if you want to remove anything from the house, like a chandelier or a mirror or anything like that, go ahead and do it before we put it on the market and replace it with something else. Because once someone sees that light fixture or the mirror or anything, they are going to want it. And
Yes.
you can definitely exclude it, but it weakens your offer or your negotiating power, in
Right,
my
because
opinion.
people start thinking it's going to cost me X dollars to remove it, replace it, et cetera. And usually in their mind, it costs more than it actually does. But yes, I
And
agree.
and touch up paint. It's real easy to touch up a wall if you don't want to paint the whole wall. Just touch it up, and then you know, let's make the house look as beautiful as it was. Like, imagine yourself buying the house. And
Right.
so that's like a really good thing to tell the sellers. Imagine yourself buying the house. Would you want to walk into a house that's dirty, or that has a lot of issues when you walk in, the paint and stuff? Because people feel like if they see like one issue, what else is wrong with the house?
I
they're
was
not
just going to come.
taking
Yeah.
they're not taking very good care of their house. So,
They start looking for other problems, I think.
absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Let me say, okay, you've got a client and what they need to do is probably overwhelming. I mean, we've all seen homes that are decluttering is a mild word. Do you have resources to help these people so that they don't feel like deer in the headlight, they don't get overwhelmed?
Yes. So, definitely hiring a realtor is a resource right there.
Yes, a
Having a
professional.
professional, yeah, having a professional agent with resources, with a professional company behind you. That's super important. Also, I always recommend professional photos. I cannot
Yes,
stand these agents that take photos on their iPhones.
iPhone. Yeah.
It drives me insane because it's not professional, and they don't show well online. They don't show lighted,
Mm-mm.
and it shows that you're not a professional agent.
Well, and oftentimes you get a photo of just the corner of the room or just the toilet. And
Yeah.
it's like, really, this is a waste of time. It does
Yes.
not help the client, does not help the seller at all.
Yes. Um, and then also, other professionals I can recommend painters. I can recommend stagers.
I
I
wanted to
like
talk about that.
what I like to do is, once my client signs the contract with me, I like to get a staging consultation.
I was
Like
just going to ask you about
pay
staging.
Yeah, so I'd like to pay for a staging consultation, and the stager goes around and gives recommendations on what to do. Um, I had that done for one of my clients, and we got 2 to 3 offers within the first week from
Yeah.
doing that.
Yeah, I think that's very important. In fact, I had a stager on here a few weeks ago. They have an eye for things that maybe even you and I, even though we have lots of experience, don't see. It's
Yeah.
also another person telling the client what needs to be done, and they're the expert in the field. I also find, and I'm sure you have too, that you do have to explain to people that we're getting the house ready to sell, not to live in. So it may not be the way they decorate or the way they use the home, but the object is for them not to be in the home much any longer. So I think that's always a hurdle that you have to address.
Yeah, and I just say, take away anything that's offensive, political, anything along those lines. If anybody has anything controversial in the home, just box it up. It doesn't mean that you can't have it. It doesn't need
Yeah.
to be out in the public for everyone to see, because you would just be surprised how many people get offended by the littlest things. It's just not worth it. And then if they get offended, even if they love the house, they will not buy it.
Right, and it could be something as simple as, yes, I always give the example. I had one client love this house, but the dining room had one wall that was painted red. It was a nice red, but she could not see past it, even though I offered to buy the paint to have the room painted. So yes, even one thing that people can't get past. That's another thing I wanted to thank you for talking about this curb appeal, because one, you've got to get them into the house, and one, you want them smiling before they get to the door. And
Yes.
another thing is too, I think the front door, the entryway, the front porch, whatever you want to call it, is very important for the same reason you mentioned. If they see one problem, they're going to start looking for another problem.
Yes.
So it's the
So
attention to detail.
So I have an example of a house that my client bought. It was a jungle when my client acquired it, a complete jungle. And then my client went ahead and mulched it, put new grass, put new flowers, and we sold it for top dollar.
Wow.
And there is no way we would have sold it for top dollar if we had not done the attention to detail. Now, to the client that my client bought it from, that was her dream to live into a jungle.
Right.
But that is not everybody's dream. And I can't tell you how happy the neighbors were when we got rid of the jungle.
Oh, I bet they were.
I mean, it was like a nature preserve, and she just had some like license that said she did not have to touch her yard. She was just a plant fanatic and loved plants and animals and everything, and the yard hadn't been touched in years. But we ended up my client ended up tearing down trees and putting mulch, putting new grass in. I mean, spent a lot of money on the yard, but it was in the, from the street view, but it was 100% worth it.
Absolutely. And that's such a, again, a good point. The first owner loved it. That's what she wanted, and she had the right to live there and do what she wanted with it, but it's not how you sell a house.
Yes.
And again, people start thinking, well, if I've got to do this and this and this, what's it going to cost me? That affects oftentimes the price that they offer. It's just better, like you said, do it up front.
Yeah.
Right. Now, another question too. I have walked in houses, as I'm sure you have, that are just overwhelmed with items. Do you have people that can come in and help them declutter and pack up? And if your client doesn't feel that they can handle it?
Absolutely, absolutely. I had one listing where we we had the movers come and pack them for 2 weeks and
Wow.
help them, take items out. But I have someone, an organizer that can come and help. An organizer helped my other client, and this organizer was really interesting. She had this QR code, and she was able to, with the QR code, label everything in the box. And when you put your phone up to the QR code, you could see everything in that box.
Okay, that's impressive. I've not heard
Yes.
anyone be that organized. That's impressive.
It was really, really organized. Now, this organizer happens to be out of town, but I'm sure other organizers in Houston, hopefully
Probably
are
do
doing
things similarly. Yeah.
something similar. It's kind of a new thing that the organizers are doing, but I just felt it was so clever to do that. And it once the client, like once an organizer comes in and starts doing this, then the client can continue on their own and say, okay, well, I got rid of all that. I can do more,
Yeah.
and then it starts helping their psychological say, okay, well, I am selling now, and I do need to start letting go, because letting go is the really, really hard things for sellers, just to let go and knowing
Yes.
that this is not going to be their house anymore. And going back to the five senses, people are, when they walk into the door, they want it to smell fresh and clean and inviting. They want to be invited into the home. And if it smells musky or smells like pets or smoke
Smoke.
or something like that, it's a turn off right away, and they want to walk back out the door. And it's all about that first impression and making people feel good. And then you want like really bright colors, like flowers, and you
Yeah.
want the home to feel very cheery, you want the home to feel spacious, you want the home to be clean, because then they're like, okay, well, if it's clean, they're taking really good care of their home. If it's dirty, what else are they covering up?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm sure you'd agree in psychology has helped you with this a lot, but yeah, that's also true.
Absolutely. One other thing I was going to point out is light bulbs. If any light bulbs are out, go ahead and replace them. Or if they're
Mhm.
dim, replace them with bright lights, because you want the house to feel light and bright at all times, because those are the houses that seem to go the fastest.
Yeah, I had a listing, I think it was last year, and it was a lovely house, but it had all the yellow toned light bulbs. And you walk down this one hall, I felt like I was in a dungeon, which was unfortunate. So we did change out all the light bulbs. It made a 100% difference. It was just amazing. And changing out light bulbs is not an expensive thing to do typically. So it was a good way to improve the home.
Yes.
Well, Jennifer, is there anything else you'd like to say about getting your home ready to sell?
Um,
Obviously, hire a professional realtor.
yeah,
Listen
just
to you.
hire a professional realtor, hire a professional photographer. Just make sure you hire professionals where it's not your expertise, because it really does make a difference. You just want to make sure that you're hiring the right people to get you top dollar and to make the process easy.
Yeah.
When you hire a realtor, it takes away the mediation of the buyer and seller just working together. And a lot of the times when it just a buyer and seller work together, there's too many emotions involved. And so the deal falls out. So it's just so nice to have that third party, neutral third party, to be negotiating the deals with the buyer and the seller. So I recommend you have a listing agent and a buyer's agent.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think that's the best way, to get to the finish line, because that's the bottom line. You want to be able to get to the finish line. And 90% of the time, buyers back out during the inspection. But I've noticed when they have a realtor to calm them down and to explain the inspection in detail, it really helps.
Oh, absolutely. I cannot imagine buying a home as a buyer and not having someone help me through the process. The first time I bought a home, I'd be honest, I was scared to death. I didn't know anything about the
Yes.
process. And I had a realtor who was a friend of mine. And when we went to closing, I'm sorry, I'm telling you a war story. When we went to closing, he didn't show up till it was almost over. And of course, there were issues that came up. It was a nightmare. And I swore that would never be what I did again. And I would never not go to a closing. I would never. Anyway, you've got to have someone that represents you, not the listing agent. It'd be like having an attorney that represented both sides in a court case. It doesn't work. You need to have your own representation. And you don't do this every day. So you need someone that does this every day to explain the process. And there's more than just opening a door and looking at a house. There's so much more.
Yeah, you really want to make sure that you're hiring a professional. Also, I think it's super important to have a full-time agent
Yeah.
versus a part-time agent as well.
Yes, because we do this every single day, and that
Yeah.
makes a difference. So, all right, Jennifer, thank you so much. If there's anything you want to add before we sign off here today.
I just want to say thank you so much for having me. My team is JL Find Homes, and we're here to help you buy or sell.
Wonderful. Thank you. And I know you're busy. Thank you for taking the time to meet with us today as well.
Absolutely. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to The Real in Real Estate, your gateway to the source. Be sure not to miss our upcoming episodes loaded with fantastic insights, expert tips, and all the latest trends in the property scene. Don't forget to stay connected with us on our Trilogy Realty Group socials: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and even TikTok. Until next time, take care.